Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how I made this stylish off-shoulder blouse with puffy sleeves. So if you're interested in learning how I made it, please continue watching. So the first thing I did was to fold my material into two like so. Then I'll come up by 6 inches. I'll remove 6 inches. Then from that 6 inches, I will measure my chest line, which is 8 inches. Then from that 6 inches also, I'll measure my bust point. I'll measure my waist, which is 16, and I'll measure my blouse length. This can also be called the hip line. So I'll add allowance of about 1.5 or 2 inches. So I'm going to measure all that across like so. Then I'll connect all the lines together. So here's my chest line, my bust point, my waist, and my blouse length. So at the beginning of my material, I took my shoulder measurement. I divided my shoulder by 2. It gave me 8 inches. Then I removed 2 inches from it. But after sewing, I realized that it was a little bit wide for me. So you can take in about 3 to 4 inches depending on your size, please. Take in about 3 to 4 inches, not 2 inches. On my chest line, as you can see, I divided my bust measurement by 4 and I added 1.5 inches for my sewing allowance. Then on my waist, I divided my waist also by 4, but this time around, I added 2.5 inches for my sewing allowance. This is because 1 inch would be my dart measurement and the remaining 1.5 would be my sewing allowance. Then on my blouse length, I also divided my hip by 4 and I added 1.5 inches for sewing allowance. My blouse length can also serve as my hip line because that's where my blouse will get to, right on top of my hip. So I connected all the points together like so. So I will use my curve to connect my bust measurement to my shoulder measurement or my neck line measurement like so. This will serve as my armhole. The next thing I will do is from my hip line or my blouse length, I will come up by 1.5 inches. I don't want it to be straight, I want it to have a little bit of curve. So I'm simply going to connect it to my line like so. So we are done and I'm simply going to cut it out. So this is the front pattern and I'll use the front pattern to cut out the back. I'll also fold my back piece into 2 like so. But this time around, I'm going to leave 1 inch for my zip allowance. You can leave about 1.5 to 2 inches, but I usually leave about 1 inch. So the 1 inch will serve as my zip allowance at the back. Please don't forget to impute your zip allowance. So the next thing I'll do is to cut out my back using my front piece. So next, I'll draft my neckline, the type of neck I want for the front. I want a sweetheart neckline. So I'm going to come up a little bit from my chest line. You can use 1.5 inch from a chest line or 1 inch, but I'll just draft it with my hand. Then for the back, I want my back to be a little bit low, so I'm going to come down by 1.5 inch, like so. I just come down by 1.5 inch. Then I'll simply connect it to my curve. If you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe. You can also share. So the next thing I'll do is to cut out the back neckline, like so, and also the front neckline. So this is the front part. Can you see the neckline? And this is also the back. So I'm simply going to divide my back into two. I'm going to cut it into two. That's my zip allowance. Divide it into two. Please make sure you don't make a mistake. So I placed my front piece on top of my back piece to cut out that 1.5 inches I took on my blouse length measurement, or my hip line. That 1.5 inch I took, I'm going to cut it out right now. So next I cut out my lining for both the front and the back, like so. I just cut it out. So the next thing I'm going to do is to pin down my lining onto my material, like so. If you can sew it like that, there's no problem, but I prefer to just pin it down. So now I'm going to attach my lining to my material. Yeah, I've done that. So I'm going to notch it right now. That's the neck. I'll notch it with my scissors, like so. So the next thing I'll do is to turn my material and my lining to the front side, like so. I turn both of them to the front, and I'll top stitch on the lining. Please watch closely. I top stitch on top of the lining, not the material, the lining. So this is how the front looks after top stitching. Can you see how it laid flatly? This is how it looks after I top stitched on it. So right now I'm just simply going to iron it. Next, I sewed around my blouse. Apart from the armhole, I just sewed around everything. Then I brought it out like this. Please watch closely. I just put my hand inside and I use the lining to bring it out to the right side. This is because I already sewed around it. And I don't want to hem it on the outside. I don't want the hemming to be on the outside, sorry. I'll also attach my lining to the material for the back, like so. Then I'll also top stitch like I did at the front. Remember, I'm top stitching on the lining. So after doing that, I'll sew my zipper allowance with 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch. I'll just sew it a little bit, like so. Then from there, I'm going to sew my blouse length or my hip line, the down part of the blouse. I'm also going to attach it to my lining. I'll also sew the sides of the blouse all the way to my armhole. Then I'll bring it out like I did at the front. So this is the end result. This is how it looks. You just have to iron it. So next I'll attach my zip to the back. I'll just attach my zip. And this is it. This is the outcome of it. This is my zip. So the next step is to take my dart. I'm going to come up by 6 inches. Remember the 6 inches we removed at the top. Then I'll mark my bust point there, but I'll come down by 1 inch from my bust point, which is 11. Then I'll divide my nipple to nipple measurement by 2 to give me 4 inches. Then at my blouse length, I'm going to come up by 2 inches, like so. Then I'll divide my nipple to nipple measurement also by 2, which is 4. Then I'll connect the line. From the 6 inches, I'm going to come down to my waistline, that's 16 inches. And I'll draw a straight line across. Then next, I'll take 1/2 inch on both sides of that straight line. Then I'll simply connect. This will be my dart. So the same measurement I took at the front for my dart will be taken at the back, like so. So this is what it looks like after I sewed my dart inside for both the front and the back. This is what it looks like. Right now, I'm going to cut out the sleeves of my blouse before I attach the front and back part of my blouse together. And the length I used is about 20 inches, while the width is about 22 inches. It depends on how puffy you want it to be. And remember, I added a white piece of material at the down part of the puff, and that's about 5 inches. So I'll cut out 2 pieces of it. So right now, I want to cut out the armhole for my sleeves. So I placed both of my sleeves together, and I'll simply place my blouse on top of the edge of the sleeve, and I'm going to fold the top. Please watch closely. I brought down my blouse a little bit, and I will fold the top so that my elastic can enter inside. I folded it like this. And to be sure, you can as well put your elastic inside so that you can know the measurement you are going to take out. So I used my elastic to measure it. And I'm going to add a little bit of allowance, maybe 1/2 inch, so that I won't sew directly on top of the elastic. Either I add 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch, and I'm going to fold it like so. Then I'll fold the rest of the remaining materials as well. That's for my two sleeves. I'll fold everything together like so. Then I'll place the armhole of my blouse on top of that fold I made. I'll place it on it like so. You can as well use your pin to hold it down. So I'm going to cut that part out to serve as my armhole. Simply going to cut it out. So this is what it looks like. This is the end result. So I already cut out the down part of my sleeve. So all you need to do is just measure the circumference of your wrist. And the length can be 5 inches depending on how long you want it to be. I already gathered my sleeves, so I'm going to attach it to the white material I cut out. I'm simply using a pin to hold both of them down together. So I'm going to sew it right now. So next I'm going to stitch the top of my sleeve together. Where the elastic is going to be, I'm going to stitch it together like so. So right now I'll be inserting my elastic into the opening. So you can cut about 8 to 9 inches of elastic depending on your size and how free or tight you want it to be. When I'm done, I'm going to stitch the elastic on top of the material so it doesn't fall out. So right now I'll join my front and back pattern together. The next thing I'm going to do is to attach my sleeves. I'll just hold my allowance, just attach it together. Then right now I'm going to attach the sleeves to my blouse. You can use a pin to hold it down. Just attach it together like so. So this is the end result of it. This is how it looks. It's very simple and easy. All you need to do is just iron it. Please, if you have any question or you're confused about any part of the video, please ask in the comment section.